All right, let's get into this because the speculation around this Blue Jays roster has already reached fever pitch and we haven't even gotten to Dunedin yet. Everyone wants to know who's safe, who's sweating, and which positions are actually legitimate question marks heading into camp. I'm telling you right now, there are going to be some surprises when they break north, and we need to talk about that World Baseball Classic situation that might keep one of our guys home before a single meaningful pitch gets thrown. So let's start with the position players, because that's where most people think everything's already decided. The everyday guys are locked in, sure. We know who's getting the bulk of the playing time against both righties and lefties. But here's the thing about Schneider's approach. He absolutely loves mixing and matching when he can find an edge. That's where spring training becomes critical. Center field belongs to Dalton Varsho. That's not changing. Right field is mostly Anthony Santander's domain. But left field? That's legitimately wide open. You've got Nathan Lukes, who can absolutely rake when he gets opportunities. Addison Barger could slide out there and give you that plus arm. Davis Schneider has experience there. Even Miles Straw, depending on what the matchup calls for. This isn't just camp competition for the sake of it. Someone's going to win that job based on what they show in March. The infield gets more complicated the deeper you look. Third base could easily become a platoon situation depending on how quickly Orelvis Martinez develops, and that could shift dramatically once games start counting. You've got Martinez with all that raw power potential. Ernie Clement absolutely crushed it there last year and proved he belongs. Barger brings that cannon arm that can change games defensively. Second base looks like mostly Clement with Schneider rotating in, assuming Leo Jimenez has shortstop nailed down. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, and I don't think enough people are talking about this. Davis Schneider is genuinely on the roster bubble right now. He's not a lock. Joey Loperfido is pushing hard from behind, and honestly, Loperfido might actually be ready to contribute at the big league level consistently. We've been watching this guy for years now. Every single time they promote him, he produces. What's weird is his AAA numbers don't jump off the page and scream future star, but something clicks when the competition elevates. That actually worries me a little bit. Is this sustainable production, or is it adrenaline and small sample theatrics covering up legitimate holes in his game? With Schneider, you know exactly what you're getting. He put together a respectable year, definitely showed he can contribute, but then guys like Clement, Barger, and Lukes absolutely exploded onto the scene and stole playing time and attention. And you've still got Miles Straw as your elite defensive replacement who can cover any outfield spot. So where exactly does Schneider fit into the puzzle? My guess is it comes down to Straw, Lukes, Schneider, and Tyler Heineman as your bench core. Straw's locked in purely for his glove. Heineman's your backup catcher. That's not changing. Which leaves Lukes and Schneider battling it out, and what happens in spring training actually matters for these fringe guys. Remember, weird stuff happens every single spring. Injuries pop up out of nowhere. Guys go ice cold for 2 weeks, and panic sets in. Someone gets scorching hot and forces management's hand. Rosters get reshaped constantly based on February and March performance. The Jays have pretty solid outfield depth too, with guys like R.J. Schreck climbing prospect rankings fast. He's knocking on the door hard. Maybe not for opening day, but if someone stumbles by June, he's right there. Then you've got Alejandro Kirk on a non-roster invite. He had a solid winter playing in the Dominican, but let's be completely honest about who he is at this stage of his career. Maybe he's a designated hitter option in certain matchups, but that spot's already incredibly crowded with established talent. If Kirk ends up being a critical piece of this team's success, it probably means the season didn't go according to plan. Spring training is really for the young guys trying to break through and the new faces trying to prove they fit. It's for Orelvis Martinez and whatever he can show offensively. It's for guys like Tiedemann if he's healthy. These are the prospects we haven't fully seen yet at the major league level. I'm not remotely worried if Vladimir Guerrero has a rough spring. George Springer hit 108 with a .514 OPS last spring. 4 hits in 15 games, looked completely lost, then went out and had arguably the best season of his entire career. Spring training stats are about refining mechanics and making adjustments, not chasing results. But for the bubble guys, for the Schneiders and Loperfidos and fringe relievers, it absolutely matters. Alan Roden destroyed spring training last year, looked like he'd figured everything out, then struggled badly once the games counted and got traded before the deadline. So yeah, take it all with a massive grain of salt, but you'd much rather see young players succeed than completely faceplant when opportunities come. The real intrigue, the stuff that's going to dominate conversations in Dunedin, is on the mound. The fifth starter battle between Jose Barrios and possibly Yariel Rodriguez or whoever else emerges is must-watch competition. You throw in Eric Lawler as a legitimate dark horse lefty who was excellent in limited action last year, and suddenly you've got a genuine three-way race. Two of those arms probably make the opening day roster. One is the fifth starter, one is your long reliever slash swingman. But if Shane Bieber's healthy and ready to roll, suddenly you've got decisions that could legitimately define someone's entire season. This isn't just about refining your slider or getting stretched out anymore. These guys are competing for actual jobs that determine their financial futures. Berrios has been around forever, had plenty of success as a starter in this league. But if Rodriguez shows you that stuff that made him so successful internationally, how do you say no to that talent? If you see any of these names penciled into the spring training lineup card, you better be watching that game closely. Could they run a six-man rotation early? Maybe for the first month to protect arms, ease Bieber back from injury, give multiple guys auditions to earn roles? Kevin Gausman historically pitches better with extra rest anyway, so there's logic there. But long-term, absolutely not. By May, they need a clear five-man rotation established. Consistency matters, especially for frontline guys like Jose Berrios and Gausman anchoring the top of that staff. The bullpen is even more chaotic and wide open. You've got Jordan Romano assuming he's healthy, Chad Green, Yimi Garcia if he's recovered, and potentially Eric Swanson locked into high-leverage spots. That's 4 roles spoken for. Add a long man, whoever loses the starter competition, and you're at 5. 3 spots remaining. Brendan Little despite his playoff struggles, Mason Fluharty, Zach Pop potentially back in a setup role, Tommy Nance, Ricky Tiedemann possibly used out of the pen initially, way too many quality arms for 3 remaining spots. Tiedemann's the biggest wild card in this entire equation. I don't think he makes opening day, but imagine him unleashed as a fireball lefty in high-leverage spots late in games. This team desperately needs that dominant dog coming from the left side in the bullpen. Can you fully trust Brendan Little against Shohei Ohtani in a must-win playoff game? I'd feel significantly better with Tiedemann pumping 99 with a wipeout slider, but they might develop him as a starter in AAA first, manage his injury risk carefully, then transition him to the bullpen later when they're sure he's fully healthy and built up. Then there's the World Baseball Classic insurance mess that's threatening to keep multiple players home. Jose Berrios might not pitch for Puerto Rico because of insurance coverage issues. Players need protection covering up to 4 years of salary for pitchers, 2 years for position players. Without proper coverage, they're risking their entire careers in financial security. Francisco Lindor is likely sitting out for the same reason. This absolutely should have been solved during collective bargaining negotiations.
This tournament is how you grow the game internationally. Best-on-best competition on a global stage with national pride at stake. But here we are, literally days before rosters are due, and guys like Berrios who have everything to prove in a contract year can't get properly insured to participate. It sucks for fans who want to see elite talent compete. It sucks for the players who want to represent their countries. George Springer didn't play in the last one for identical reasons. Contract year, too much financial risk. Can you honestly blame them? One freak injury in a meaningless pool play game could derail an entire career and cost tens of millions of dollars. But man, baseball fans globally just want to see the absolute best players in the world compete when it matters. Rosters are due February 3rd, announced publicly February 5th. Clock's ticking loud. Hopefully someone figures this out because watching Berrios or Martinez representing their countries would be absolutely incredible theater. Bottom line, spring training is going to answer numerous critical questions over the next 6 weeks. The everyday lineup is mostly established with a handful of bubble guys fighting desperately for roster spots. The pitching staff is completely wide open with legitimate competitions at multiple spots. Starter battles, bullpen battles, young guys trying to prove they belong at this level. This is genuinely where championships get built, in these quiet March games in Florida, when most fans aren't paying close attention except the coaches with clipboards evaluating every single pitch and at-bat. Big week ahead with some excellent interviews coming your way. Stick around because baseball is almost back and we're just getting this thing started properly.